Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be delivering another daily cryptocurrency market update. If you are new around here, every single day at 1 p.m. we release an update just like this one, where we cover all the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, and we also look at it from a technical point of view, and we throw in a bit of sort of the macro picture and everything happening therein, because we know that our space is very correlated with that, and we try and use it to help us work out where our small but very significant and to become infinitely more significant space is heading. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to start things off by recapping on yesterday's main headline, which was a huge win for the entire industry. Grayscale won their lawsuit or their battle against the SEC. And this was fantastic for Grayscale, but not just fantastic for Grayscale, it's fantastic for the entire industry. The SEC is pretty much losing every single battle that they've picked with the crypto space. And I think they're going to lose the one against Coinbase. And I also think they're going to have no other choice but to allow a Bitcoin ETF. Spot ETF, we already have futures ETFs, which don't actually need to be backed by physical Bitcoin and just allow people to purely speculate on the price. So once we have that ETF, it's basically a green light for Bitcoin. It now becomes an accepted asset class, and people can start putting it into their pensions. They can start putting it into their 401ks, all of this sort of stuff. And not only that, it kind of paves the way for altcoins. You are going to end up with altcoin ETFs, in my opinion. Altcoins are literally going to change the world. They already are changing the world of finance, and they're going to do it in all these weird and wonderful ways, in the same way that when the internet first came about, people didn't realize that people were going to be using it to spend hours scrolling on TikTok and all, looking at memes and all this sort of stuff. So we're going to start off there. We'll go over to the price because we are still in a little bit of a dangerous zone. We did highlight the fact from a purely technical point of view that people should not be short support. And we did say that a bounce was quite likely at support. The question is does this bounce lead to a recovery from the price action that we saw on the 17th of August? Or does it set up maybe a head and shoulders, or has it now set up, we've had a sort of this could be a B wave into some sort of a C wave. I do think there's Elliott wave in practice here. The market is very good at moving in threes. Three is a magic number when it comes to the markets. Most of your technical patterns will involve three impulses. Your head and shoulders is a three impulsive pattern, so on and so forth. And you could be setting up for further downside potentially. So don't get too excited just yet. I'm happy with both the bear and the bull case. On the short term, mid to long term, we're exceptionally bullish. We genuinely believe the crypto revival is here. And then we're going to look at a little bit of what's happening today, what's happening this week. And we're going to be coming with some breaking news from X, which of course is Twitter. Formerly, Twitter is now licensed to store, transfer, and exchange Bitcoin and digital assets for its users. This is Elon Musk's vision for Twitter and X. It's a vision he's had for a long time, a kind of billion user payment facilitator that also has a social media attached to it, and he's actually moving very swiftly to facilitate this. So let's get into what happened yesterday. Of course, Bitcoin price soared after the Grayscale win in a dispute with the SEC. Now, it's another dagger in the SEC's back, and ultimately, the US Appeals Court ruled in favor of Grayscale Investments in its ongoing battle against the Securities and Exchange Commission to convert its Grayscale's Bitcoin trust into a spot ETF. The judge essentially said, well, this is not a valid reason. You're allowing exchange-traded products. Why aren't you that are related to Bitcoin's price? Why aren't you allowing a spot Bitcoin ETF? And they keep coming up with all these bullshit reasons. The SEC is essentially there to stall the inevitability of this industry. And they're doing a pretty good job at stalling. If you've got Gensler that can't even answer a simple question like, is Ethereum a security? After being there for years at this point. This guy is no fool. He worked at MIT teaching blockchain technologies. He's currently given a lot of views in regards to his lectures that are contrary to the ones he holds at the SEC, which is quite interesting. It's a huge win for the entire industry. And of course, we were not only expecting a bounce here, but we were looking at this bounce. And we'll show you guys, if you pay attention to the channel, how to actually outperform Bitcoin. We were looking at miners. We were looking at a number of things. We were looking at things like Coinbase, which did very well, and expecting a bounce on those fronts that correlated with what was happening with Bitcoin. If you look at this, for example, and ultimately we did indeed get that bounce. And you can see, in my opinion, we are still in a bit of a danger zone for Bitcoin, more so than the other charts that we've just shown you. You know, yesterday we looked at a lower time frame and we said this is likely going to short squeeze. The question is, and we did actually have targets for it running back into these kind of areas of consolidation. We did actually say that the issue you've got is how this resolves. So right now it's great. It's fantastic. You've had that squeeze. The question is, for this to now turn bullish on the short term, it needs to continue to do so. Okay? I personally am not convinced that you're going to get this wave of ETF approvals in September when the deadline for all the reapplications are from the likes of BlackRock, VanEck, and all these guys. I'm not convinced the SEC is going to give that. I think the SEC is going to be as much of a hindrance as they possibly can. And how does the market perhaps react to that news? And, you know, going into September, which is historically a kind of bearish month for crypto, how does that all factor in? We'll see. But it's certainly a positive thing for the entire industry. There's no doubt about that. There are a couple of issues I have with the pump. Okay, first of all, you've got to kind of look at the fact that this could roll over. And then you've got a head and shoulders that would probably see you come down to this region down here. In fact, it would give you targets in that region down there. You've also got 3 waves here. And typically after you've completed that 5-wave sort of Elliott wave theory structure, you end up with a bit of an A, B, C. So that's also maybe lining up with a bear case. On the short term, again, the onus is really on Bitcoin. Just like when we were down here, we said Bitcoin's got to show us something. It's done that. It's got to keep going at this point. And the volume, I must admit, was far from spectacular here. Certainly, if we look at a weekly volume to put things in perspective, you know, it's very, very minute. You want the price action to be backed up by things like volume, and you didn't quite get it. So short term, and I hate to say this, guys, because no one's more happy than me about this win, you are in a bit of a danger zone in regards to structure that this could potentially set up. But you'll be able to watch all that play out. Watching this channel, you'll be able to know what to look for. The flip side of that is, of course, the dollar, which, I mean, is this just support and resistance flipped? I don't know. The dollars are the biggest thorn in my side right now, along with the SEC. This needs to fall short. I don't think I've got any indicators on. Yeah, this needs to fall short. And whether it will do so or not is still to be seen. This week, you've got a lot of data coming out. Today, you've got lots going on with mortgages. Mortgages are seeing some really negative things happening in the mortgage section, certainly in the UK. You've got lots of refinancing. The thing is with the interest rates is the majority of debt out there hasn't been refinanced to that debt. That will come slowly. This is all tying into our kind of theory that the shit doesn't hit the fan until later on. We think we're in a kind of 2006 leading into 2008 period, or we're leading into a crash, but we don't think the crash comes now. We think people are fundamentally and have been fundamentally wrong on the demand destructive event and it taking place imminently. We think it comes, but later on. So you've got a lot going on. You've got in the US, you've got GDP preliminaries, you've got preliminary GDP price index, you've got goods trade balance, preliminary wholesale inventories. Then is it tomorrow you've got ADPs, or was it today? No, here we go. US non-farm ADPs. So this is going to show a weakening economy. GDPs might prop it up. Tomorrow you've got a number of interesting things. You've got European CPIs, you've got all sorts. And then Friday's the big one, of course, with non-farm payroll, which is very much going to set the tone for the dollar and interest rates. And the dollar is the main thing driving crypto. Crypto is still, I think, a paper bag in the wind. I think the stock market had a very good day yesterday. Is it over for the stock market? In terms of, you know, that kind of head and shoulders that everyone was putting forwards, I would say has now been largely invalidated. you know, this pullback well and truly could be over for the stock market. We have higher targets for stocks. We think AI is largely going to be a big driver of narrative. I know that AI isn't as implemented as people are making out to be, but it doesn't need to be. If you look at the internet and the boom that happened there, it was largely when the internet wasn't even used. And things often preempt and get into a mania before actual real world implementation has taken place. Last little bit of news I've got for you guys before I love and leave you is, of course, Breaking X, formerly Twitter, is now licensed to store, transfer, and exchange Bitcoin and digital assets for its issuers. Big news, it's going to happen. We know Tesla sold their Bitcoin. Again, we have been saying that people were very bearish on that, and I honestly think that Elon Musk is not a trader. I think they made the worst decisions in regards to when to sell and when to buy Bitcoin, or when to initially buy it and then when to sell it. They bought it in a bear and they sold it in a bull, or at the starts of a bull. So take that for what it is. That's really all we got for you. Watch out for these scenarios. Watch out for the dollar. Watch out for things like USDT dominance. Huge win for crypto as a whole. And on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you enjoyed the content, you know what to do. A like is always appreciated. So as a comment, hit that subscribe button. If you want to become a patron and find out what I'm buying and where I'm buying it, and get on board with the amazing opportunities we see ahead of us, please do consider clicking the link in the description and checking the Patreon out for a month. Yeah, all I've got for you guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.